Good day to those listening and those watching. I am Nada Kovinich, and with me is Garrett Pedler. Together, we are your Small Town Realtor Podcast. Make sure you like, follow, share this episode, and of course, drop us a comment on your takeaways from this episode. We appreciate you being here and hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a little something different for you today. Nada is a team lead in Cornwall, Ontario, and myself, I'm part of a team. Now, I'm part of a family team, and I just don't have the insight to add significantly to this conversation. But hey, if you're a generational real estate agent, give me a call and we can talk privately, because it is a bit of a niche of my team, working with my dad and my brother. And so what I really wanted to do is, because Nada is a wealth of knowledge, and she has a really unique concept going on with her team, all females. And I think it's an incredible setup that she has. And so today you're going to hear me just pick Nada's brain apart and really try and dive into what is going on and what's working for her team, and maybe, and what's not working, and go from there. So Nada, first of all, you've been in the business for 15 years. How long ago, and what was the decision to go to a team instead of being a solo agent in a small town market?
So I'm going to try and sum this story up as fast as possible because it's a bit of a long one. I had a great broker of record. He came into my office one day. I had done 70 ends. I was starting to face a little bit of burnout, was working with a really good mentor. She had really brought me to kind of the next level. And like I said, 70 ends that year. And he walks in and he says, listen, you're going to go to this conference in Toronto. This is 2017. And he says, you're going to start a team. I thought, teams don't work in small towns. No one does teams in small towns. This is such a big city thing. It's not going to work. Who would I even have? Like, I don't even know what agent I would bring on. Anyways, he says, I'm going to pay for the conference. Go. So off I go to Toronto. I go to this conference, and they had Jason Pilon speaking. He was from Ottawa, great agent. He runs a great team, the Pilon Group. And he spoke, and I spoke to him after. And I thought, I kind of got that like energy of like, okay, I can do this. Like this makes sense. I can do this. I don't know if I can do it the way they do it in those larger cities like Ottawa and Toronto. It's not going to work. I'm going to have to create my own model. I hopped back on the train. I made a phone call to an agent. I said, listen, come on with me. I'm going to start a team. Meet me for coffee. She's been on my team since 2017. I should have asked her to go out for a drink, not for a coffee. She would have answered me much faster. So we get back to Cornwall. We have a coffee. And I said, listen, I'm going to start this team. You've got 24 hours. Decide whether you're going to come with me or you're not. And if you're not, I'm going to find someone else. Anyways, of course, she comes on with me. Thank goodness. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I just knew I wanted life, and I wasn't getting life. I wanted a family, and I wasn't going to be able to have a family with the way I was working. My husband owns a company as well. He works a gazillion hours a week. I was burning out. I knew that I was not going to be able to be a good mom and also be a good agent. And I needed to find a method, because if I was doing 70 ends that year, what was the next year going to bring, and how was I going to be able to do this? So I thought, okay, let's do it. Let's start a team. And that was the first agent that came on. A friend of mine was getting her license at the same time. And that's how it kind of just all began from there.
What I find and how many years into your real estate career was this that you started the team?
Oh my gosh. So I'm actually 17 years now. Oh, you're going to make me do some math.
Roughly
10. I'd say
Okay.
around 10. Let's go with 10. About 10 years. About 10 years.
So you're in real estate for 6-7 years, really got your feet under you, had a big sale and working, and you got to that point of feeling like it was too much. And so you took the big step of making a team. I find it incredible, because I know a lot of realtors and a lot of teams. You are the only that I'm aware of, that I know in my network, of all females. What brought you to that decision I know it's brutal working with men, but what brought you to that conclusion? I really love the concept.
It was an accident. My first two agents that came on were female. And then I brought a third one on, again, female. I had interviewed men. And it wasn't fitting what I was trying to build and the ethics that we were trying to put together. And it's not that men can't do it. Garrett, you sell great real estate. But there was something about having all women and how we connected and how we vibed. And we understand each other a little bit better, and it created more of a family. And then when I started to feel that connection and that vibe, I knew I had to stick with females. And unfortunately, I've had men approach me and I've had to say, I'm sorry, but this is a female team. And the women empowerment that you get when you walk into our office is just so strong. And we build each other up, which, not that men can't do it. I definitely think they can, but there's just something really, really special about an all-women team and how we take care of each other as though we're just one big family.
Well, and I think probably the most incredible thing is that, with all women, is you all have had children, had your kid and have this. In the normal career, you got 9-12 months, you can do nothing. And I mean, I know men are incredible at trying to understand and understand where a woman's coming from. We'll never understand what's going through a woman's mind during that time. There's so many mixed emotions. I mean, the baby can't hang out with dad for 24 hours. So at that infant stages. So I think that's what's really cool. And I know, Laura just had a baby on your team, and I'm sure her experience with real estate and having that baby, being with an all-female team, was like no other experience for a realtor and a new mom. So I just think that's probably a huge bonding moment, because you truly all are coming from that same fact of life as you are the mothers, and your child depends on you, especially in those first few months.
I would say that the very cool thing was like with Laura just having her baby, it's almost like we're raising that child with her in some ways, because we're all, when we do the FaceTime calls in the beginning, in the first few weeks and months of her having baby Jack, he'd come on the FaceTime calls, and one of our girls, all of our women love babies. So the minute that he would come on, the oohs and the ahs would start, and we'd have to, come on, girls, we got to get back into the meeting with you, because we'd be all distracted by baby Jack. But there's an understanding there, and we were all ready to jump in, which is, real estate's really lonely. It can be a really lonely business, and especially if you're going to have a child in this business without being on a team. I highly recommend being on a team if you're going down the route of having a child, because the support that you get on a team as a woman, and it doesn't have to be an all women's team if you're doing this, but definitely having that team and the support that you can get to help you through those stages. Because we know the sleepless nights. I mean, I had a baby while running this team. Don't do what I did. I went back to work after a week. I don't recommend that, but and my girls are so supportive, but it was just, it's my life. I love it so much. Love my daughter, love my job. But having those women together and that connection, we're able to have the ability to take a little bit of time off and have people understanding how you're feeling through those stages.
Totally. And I have so much respect for women in this industry and, new mothers, because I've heard multiple times of agents that, were sitting in that, you got to stay in the hospital for 48 hours after you give birth. And, they got the husband brought the laptop and we're sending off emails. You're like, oh my God, I can't even comprehend that, but it's the commitment most realtors have to their business, and they just don't want to leave their clients hanging. So I applaud the heck out of that. Small towns, super relationship driven. How has leading, talking about all women, how has leading an all women team shaped your reputation in a small town community market?
I think a lot of the times, the wife will call us, uh, when they're listing the house, and she's the one who wants to hire us because it is an all women team, and she loves the empowerment of it. So I do think that we've built a reputation of women empowering others. So we do get a lot of women who do call us because they feel a little more comfortable with having an all women team, the coddling, the hand holding that women do have. I mean, there are, I say there's a client for everyone. And so some people want that strong personality. Usually that actually ends up being me. But then we have that warmer side of the team, and that, all of us have a warm side, of course, but they really want that warm side. And I think that's kind of what you're getting from that all women empowerment part of our team.
And and what you're speaking, is a lot of the culture that you've grown within your all women team and within your group. How intentional are you about protecting your team's brand and energy?
And so that actually, is huge. We've made mistakes with, how because your reputation is everything, as we know, in these small towns. But I'll just talk quickly about a mistake that we made was during COVID. We had put out, uh, that inventory of houses was as low as there was toilet paper. And it actually really affected us. We had somebody call the MP saying that we needed to take this down, that it was going to affect things. So I'm very cautious on our reputation and what we put out to people, and that's as honest as I can be. We do not put anything political. We do not put anything online that shows any different views. We are strictly posting very cautiously on ourselves, our family, and we stay out of politics. We stay out of anything that's controversial. We've been very careful, and because it can affect your reputation so fast in that small town, that we're very cautious on keeping that reputation. And even my agents, when they know when they're going out in our small town that they are representing our brand. And I'm like a drill sergeant with it, because I say to them, what you do out in public is representing who we are back in the office. So building up who we are and keeping our reputation is very, very important to me. And we have to be cautious in a small town because, of course, as we've talked about in other podcasts, people can gossip, unfortunately.
I find the toilet paper inventory one kind of comical, so I wouldn't have called my MP on that, but everybody's different. And you know, to get in, not to get into, because I'm going through this, bringing a new agent on to our team, and not to get into too much of your contractual stuff and commissions, because every team member and leader is going to do something different there. The team setup is so vastly different from one to the next. So not to get into that, but just one thing I actually found quite interesting is our contract that we get people to sign, and we just created it, so it's fresh off the press, is how in depth do you get with that social media stuff, and them protecting your brand? Do you get into that with your contractual agreements for your team members?
We do. We definitely, we put a portion of it in there. I actually have a little bit of I definitely think that we run this completely different than your large towns, for a couple of reasons. One, I do a 6-month probation period. So you are at every team meeting, you are at every open house that we at, if of course it works for your schedule, that we ask you to be at. You're doing some of the showings. During that 6-month period, you're not getting any of the leads. We're just testing to see if you're ready to be on this team and how much you want to be on the team. A quick example, I've had a friend of mine since we were 5 years old, and she got her real estate license. And I even had her go through the 6-month period because it's business. And she of course luckily came on the team. She did well, but you have to be very cautious in a small town when you're adding people on, because you want to see who they truly are and how they represent themselves, because again, they're representing your brand. But contractually, we do have them sign one that, the clients that come from us stay our clients. What they're posting has to belong with our ethical branding. And we're very cautious. We don't do, I will say this, I won't say splits or anything, but I will say that our splits have to be much lower than what you're seeing in your traditional large city. And the reason for that is retention is more important than a small town. It's more important in a small town than a larger town. You don't have a pool of thousands and thousands of agents that you can pull from to add members to your team. So we try to keep our splits very, very reasonable in order to keep retention instead of going through a lot of turnover, because there isn't a lot of agents that you can recruit. So we're not huge on recruiting agents. We find in a small town, you need to be more structured on retention than recruitment.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. What would be, a new team leader thinking about getting a team? What's the number one thing that surprised you? Something you didn't think about, and a year or two later, and you say, I wish I did that. Or what was something that surprised you that you would like to give to somebody thinking about starting a team?
Yeah, I when I started the team, I made a mistake. I used to give out the leads round robin. So a lead would come in, I'd pass it to one agent. Lead would come in, pass it to the next agent. In a small town, you definitely can't do that. You need to match each client with each agent based on their personality. It 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 can't be about, oh, I've given so and so so many leads and I haven't given so and so enough leads on the other end. It has to be more about matching personalities, especially in that small town. You really want to make sure that you're I sent the wrong agent to the wrong client, and that's when I learned I can't do that anymore. It's got to be more about matching the right agent with the right client. And when I figured out that method, the team just ran smoother. And yeah, I might have given 3 leads to one of my agents that month, and then and the other agent got none. But the following month, it was in reverse. The other agent was getting 3 leads, and the other agent wasn't getting anything. And that to me is probably the most important thing I learned, because as soon as I did that, we stopped losing clients and we kept retention, and referrals grew because they were so happy with how we had matched those personalities.
That's really interesting. That concept. I love that concept, and I think that says that's a real small town tip. Is because in the city you have thousands of leads, and it's just round robin. Okay, if you lose 25% of these, what do? You got the whole other pile. Well, in a small town, you're dealing with a smaller amount of leads. The more time and curating for that particular client, who to pick with them. That's awesome tip. I'm sure many of the listeners are going to love to hear that one. That's something I would have never thought of. Yeah, that's a great tip there. How do you structure roles on your team? Going to the competition, no overlaps, going back to inventories limited, both, buying side, selling side. How do you structure roles?
So myself, I do a little bit of the buying end, but not really. I strictly kind of stick to the listing end of things. My girls are able to, not able, I never like to make it seem like there's rules, because we are a family, but my girls do buy and do the listing end. I know some teams don't function that way, but I think that's the best way to retain our clients, because they are comfortable working with that agent. I'm not taking that away from them. So we don't have a buying agent or a selling agent. We do have a listing admin. Not listing admin. We have a licensed admin as well on the team. She does sell as well. She's actually started to really develop a great blacklist of clients, if I could say. She's done a really good job with that. Her little book is really filling up. But I also, there are roles in our team, and I would love to tell you that there isn't competition, but I think competition drives you. So there's always a little bit of competition in the team. I think it's I would say a very healthy competition. There are moments where one agent might feel like, oh, so again, they're doing really well. Why am I not hitting that? But I tell them in those moments, take it as motivation. Take it as a way to build yourself up. What aren't you doing that you see that agent's doing? And those healthy moments of competition can really drive an agent who might be feeling as though they're a little bit behind right now. And I think the nice thing about the team is, even when I have one agent who's really hitting top tier, the team still wants to help them, because they're going to get leads from that agent, because they know that agent, when they're that busy, they're not going to be able to go to every open house. They're not going to be able to go to every appointment. So they can pick up leads from that really successful agent. So I think there's structure, but at the same time, our culture is so family oriented that if I were to go back to the podcast and all the books that I've ever read that told me that never build these really close relationships with people who are working for you, I think they're wrong. I really think when you build that family and that structure, you build retention, and having retention is key in these small towns.
Well, and the culture you've built, I can attest. I know your team and have had lots of conversations with them. They're incredible people. They all highly respect each other. And I think healthy competition, that is good for a team. If everyone's laid back and nobody's fighting for something, well, you're not going to be very successful. I think a little healthy competition, and like you said, hey, don't look at it the wrong way, is they're going to get busy, help them out. So, it's only a good thing when the team's doing good, everyone's doing good.
If I could just mention one thing, Garrett, that I think is important in small towns, is you will have on your team a moment when two of your agents are going into a listing appointment and they are going to be fighting for the client. And instead of them fighting for the client, the key is for the two of them to go in together, so that they show the strong front of the team, and that how we work together as a team, instead of them going in and fighting against one another. I would rather them go in together and split that listing 50-50 and show that that's what they're getting with a team, versus them going in and fighting one another for the listing, because that shows a divide in the team. So I think that, again, is just something I wanted to add to that aspect.
Yeah, and I know me and Mark, and Dad, but me and Mark go to most of the appointments, and those appointments that we go actually together, and those are some of the best appointments, because you can kind of curate and kind of go, okay, this guy's more analytical. I'll let Mark do more of the talking. He's the stats guy, or, and this kind of thing, or he's, these are his interests. He's showing me his wood shop. Okay, I'll chat with him for a minute down here and really try and get a connection. And so I think that's a great idea. There's no point of fighting your own team members. Yeah. What systems have been non-negotiable for your growth? CRMs, admin support, client follow-up, listing processes. Does your team have checklists, and you're keeping a close eye on that checklist? Do you is it a little more laid back fashion for you? How do you group that?
So I definitely, right there, I am not the hawk over my team. I have complete trust in the women on my team. I don't need to be over them ensuring that they get things done. I will say, when you're starting a team, again, a mistake that I made, I didn't hire an admin fast enough. And I didn't fire the bad admins that I eventually hired fast enough. So I think when you're starting, the minute you're getting an agent on, you better be hiring an admin. because there's going to be a lot more work that comes at you, and you don't need to be focused on the admin work. You need to be focused on everything else to build that team. So admin is number one. When you have a good admin, when you have a great admin, which I will say we definitely have, when you have a great admin, it will drive your team to levels you would have never expected, because you are no longer thinking. You're taking that portion, that file out of your brain, you are throwing it in the garbage, and you are letting your admin take that file from you. And it gives your brain the space to think of ways to develop the team. Admin's number one. CRM is 100% super important. I have a CRM. We use our CRM, not to the fullest, but all the contacts are in there. But you want to be touching base with these clients, especially in these small towns, at least 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year, as many times as you can. I mean, it's so important. I think CRN's 2, 3, listing and buyer presentation. You can't go in without one. You need to have one. You need to show when you walk through the door, people want to, and even having a pre-listing package, if you can have that ready as well. We have one agent that comes in with these beautiful boxes, super impressive. But if you can have those listing and buyer packages and use them, don't just have them, use them. And I think they bring you to a next caliber when you're walking into those listing appointments. A lot of agents just come in with a notepad and they hope to get the listing. But if you're coming in totally prepared from day one with that listing package. So I think those are the most important things. But definitely number one key is a great admin. A great admin takes a team from one level and can just totally drive it to double.
On another, just for grasping people listening, you have, is it 4 team members, an admin and yourself?
So I have right now, I've got 4, a licensed admin, myself, and that's where we're at right now. We have had the team larger in the past. I really like where we're at right now with the size of the team. Not that when it was big, we had great agents as well. One of my agents, she's done super well. She went on to build her own team, and she's in her first year, she's hit chairman level with the team, and she's done a fantastic job while also being pregnant. And she again has another all women team. I don't know if I've just put this in people's brains that that's the best way to do it, but she's done super well. I'm so proud of her. And another one of my agents, she actually left because her husband was getting licensed. So it's all been great transitions. The people that we've had have left in a great way, and we've been super lucky. But yeah, that's the size we're at. And I'm on the fence. Do I take someone else on, or do I stick with the culture that we have right now? Is just so fun and just so enjoyable.
That's awesome. And it sounds like to add somebody today, it needs to be the right fit. And I think that's how every team lead should be thinking about it. Don't just add people for the sake of adding people. Because if you just add one person that doesn't fit in, that can, screw up all your culture and trust that you built for however long overnight. So I think that's really, I applaud that. And that's a smart business move, I would think. Virtual assistant, I know we weren't really going to get into it, but I know you recently in the last 6 to 8 months have gotten into a virtual assistant as well. How's that shaped the team, and how's access to that virtual assistant looked like for your team members? Is it just you talking to them? Are all the team members sending her stuff? How's that look for you guys?
Right now, best move I ever made. I would do this 10 times over. Of course, there's a lot of learning curves for myself, for the VA, for my admin, but it's taken so much, especially now that she's really doing well selling. It's taken a lot of again, taking that filing cabinet out of her head and passing it for her to throw it in the garbage and pass it on to somebody else. I always believe if there's a task that somebody else can do for a little bit less money than what you can make during that time period, you need to get rid of that task and you need to pay someone else to do it. So that's what we've done. I mean, she's mainly been focusing on our social media right now. She's done a little bit of some other rental aspects, just different things that we can add her in. But I definitely think it was a very, very smart move for us to do. It's not expensive, which is huge. We only have her on part-time, and it's just given us that little bit of extra space to do things. My girls do contact her. They let her know when the open houses are, a different ad that they need to be put online. Eventually, I do want to take her into being able to do some of the paperwork and things like that and bring her on a little more full time. We're about 4 or 5 months in with her, very efficient and learns very quickly. So I do see that we could bring her on full time. And I think that alleviates a lot of my girls from different tasks that they might have been doing. And again, it allows them to focus on real estate, which they are really good at, instead of focusing on all those tasks that are taking them away from trying to build their businesses.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's so cool with the virtual assistant. I've been learning more about it here through our conversations is, you can start at one day for 6 hours, and as you start seeing things work out and grow from there. So it's a pretty accommodating way to get some VA support. I think it's a great idea. To finish us off, for a small town agent listening who wants to build a team but feels the market is too small, what would you tell them?
It's not. It's never too small. It's not. You don't need a big team. I don't. I think I've even had coaches, and when I was working with my coach, they kept enforcing that I should bring more people on. In a small town, that's not how it works. If you even have one agent that comes on with you, you're never too small. I don't care if it's a 10,000 population town. I don't care if it's a 60, 70,000 population town. It's about finding the right people, and it's about retention. It's about trying to retain the agents and making sure that you're providing enough benefits for them to work with you. If you're overwhelmed and you're at a stage where you're doing 50 plus ends, and that happens a lot more in small towns than it does in big cities, which is sometimes a little bit shocking. We do more ends in small towns than they do in these large cities. And so we are actually the ones who need a team more than they do in these larger towns, because we are doing so many ends, we are doing so many deals, we do know so many people. And so if you're at that stage where even 30, 40 ends, you're going to burn yourself out without having an admin and getting an agent on your team. I'd be happy to help anybody who wants to do it, because I love this part of the job. But I really think don't let yourself. I thought my town was too small, and it wasn't. And I'm telling you, if you're thinking your town is too small, it's not. You just have to find the right people. That's more important than anything else.
Yeah, that last sentence there, I think, is incredible advice and goes on what we were talking about before. And I personally, Cornwall's 20,000, 100,000,
60.
Wow,
We 50, 60.
I was
50,
getting
60,
both
somewhere.
sides of the spectrum.
Close enough. Somewhere between 20,000 and 100,000.
I would say cultivating business would probably be like 15 to 20,000, and it's probably maybe even more like 12 and a half to 15,000. And we're starting to get a team. And yeah, I mean, to have somebody you can trust, look after your stuff, and just help out where you can, and you're going to help them too. I don't think there is a market too small. Like, unless you as a solo agent are taking every listing and every buyer through every house in that town or in your market area, I don't see why you're not, not apt to starting a team. And like you said, finding the right people to start that team. So, for my dad, it was have children. Those are your team members. But Nada found another approach. I think hers is more realistic and something that is a little more short-term, being able to make it attainable. The children attempts a little more of a long-term stretch and gamble. So thank you so much for this, Nada. I thought this would be an awesome podcast, and just things you're saying, I'm learning from you. So I know people listening are taking a lot of notes, and and taken some tidbits from what you had to say. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge here today. And thank you for the listeners. And we will catch you in another 2 weeks. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Don't forget to like and share and comment. Have a great day.